Well, hello, everybody. Jay Rhymes here at the Periodic Review. We hope you all are having an incredible day. Hopefully, we'll earn your subscription today. So don't forget to like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you don't miss a content release. You can now send all of your topic ideas to theperiodicreview@gmail.com. Now, has been a minute since we've been on, so let's go ahead and see what everybody's been doing lately, and we'll go over some items of the future that's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks, and we will get started into our topics, which is Alakai's Day. So, ladies first, Miss Rianne, if you want to go ahead.
My life is boring.
No, it's not. Come on. Come on.
No, work is good. See, this is the thing. I like that my life is boring right now. I've had stressful times. And so the fact that it's not like over the top is good. It's a good thing. I'm working, eating healthy, doing, I don't know, planning a trip for camping with Jacob's family. And, yeah, life's exciting that way. That's about it.
Nice.
So, there's other stuff. Like, I love how I, look over and both of my co-hosts over here are just, tippity-tappity on their phones.
Well, we're definitely live on Rumble, so I'm super stoked right now.
Yay! For us.
Yay, Rumble.
And I'm going to let Jacob share our common news if he wants.
Our common news
for the peasant folk.
Well, when it
for
gets to me, we'll
people.
do that when we get to me. Mr. Bryson, what's new in your corner, sir?
What's new with me?
What's
not
new
too
with
much.
you?
We are coming up on the last week of classes for school, and then we have finals next week, so that's really cool. I got a new job at my work. I got a new position.
Oh, yeah, you talked about that last
bro.
time. So you got it? Okay.
Yep, I did.
Congratulations.
Did it come with a pay raise?
Not very much, but
Congratulations,
But it was still
dude.
something, right?
yes.
Congrats.
Either way,
Yeah.
you
Hell
deserve
yeah.
it. I'm glad that you got that position.
Thank you. But yeah, so I got that, which will be nice. And so although the pay raise isn't super huge, the flexibility is a lot more there because it's more of a make your own schedule, like just get the work done.
Yeah.
So
What?
I don't
Right
have to have like a very set schedule.
Oh,
which
I
will
have
be
to
super
survive in
nice.
office without you now.
Oh, I'll be coming into office a lot. That's the reason they wanted Cedar City specific QA as someone who could be in office more, usually at least twice a week. But I told them in my interview, I'm like, I prefer to be in office. I feel more productive, and plus I get to talk with everyone there. So I'll still be coming into office whether I'm working or not.
Thank
You
God.
enjoy
You better
socializing.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
better still be as active in the chat as you are now.
100%.
That better not change. I swear if it does, I'm gonna annoy you over text and Snapchat way more.
Okay, noted. But yeah, that's what's new with me. What's new with you, Kai?
Let's go.
Well, since remember that Vegas trip that Bryson and I had talked about and that we had gone on a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually heard back from one of the employers at the career fair that we were at, and I was offered an internship for
Let's go.
it's a nonprofit organization called the Love Yourself Foundation.
Just imagining that Vine. Love yourself.
Love yourself.
Accept yourself.
Have a wonderful day, guys.
Love
Love
yourself.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to get a TikTok started for them because they don't have it. They don't have TikTok now, but I kind of want to get one started for them and kind of do something similar to that. But anyways, yeah, I'll be starting May 15th as a podcast and marketing assistant. I'm super excited. The people that I've talked to that are with that organization are really sweet, loving people. The founder that I spoke with, she's so cool, very warm, loving vibe about her. She's a very wonderful person. So I'm
Well,
excited to work with
I
her.
would hope so, considering the name of the organization, that
Yeah.
it would
They're
be
all
run
just
by a
so
loving
mean.
person.
No, and it's cool because it's I really did want to work for a radio station or something, but it's well, this has a deeper purpose to it, and I'm excited for it.
Okay, so do a little bit of a plug. What does the organization do?
So they do a lot of promotion for a lot of mental health resources and just self-love, self-care. building and maintaining healthy relationships. They have a great podcast, the LYF podcast, I think is what it's called. So, yeah.
Sweet. Shout out to you guys.
Yeah, they're a really cool bunch of people. They throw in like a lot of events and work with artists to like promote that kind of stuff as well. They started out with like a whole open mic kind of thing, but since then it's evolved and become new things, and they're organizing more like festivals for that kind of stuff as well. In May they're having an event for like it's like a meditation event that they're doing. I'll be going down to that. So yeah.
A meditation event?
Yeah.
What? That's cool.
Yeah. So it's cool. There's a lot of like really like hippie vibes about it, and I'm like, yeah, by people. So
You're like,
Okay.
yeah.
So
I'm
wait,
like-
and this is in Vegas?
So the foundation is located in Vegas, or they started in Vegas, but their work is pretty much remote. So
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you don't have to move down there.
no, not at all.
So we
I'm-
don't have to say goodbye.
No, I'm gonna
Okay.
I'm gonna like continue to go down for like events and stuff, but that's gonna be like just as they come, and yeah. So
Well, that's exciting. Let us know how we can support you in that.
thank you.
Yeah, for
Appreciate
sure.
that, guys. Yeah, classes are getting busy and stressful and frustrating. Well, I guess we're pretty much done with one of our classes, but yeah.
I don't do.
One down, how many to go?
I think I only have 2 classes that I actually have this week.
I think, yeah, I still have a bunch of classes, but except for the nonverbal class that Bryson and I have together. But
Right on.
yeah, anyways,
On to me.
On to you, Jacob.
On to me. All right. So, what's new with me? Well, I had a little bit of work drama, but we seem to have worked through that and figured out things so far. So,
Spill the tea. Rianne
No.
doesn't want you to spill the tea, but you should.
No,
spill
it's
no, we're not going
fine.
to go into details, but like,
I just
Name
had
the
a comment that somebody said you were putting your old employer on blast pretty heavily, so I was
who
like,
said that?
I don't want to say right now.
Drop names
Oh, well,
right now.
But I'm just saying.
Put it on the internet
Well, I
forever.
never said who I worked for or where I worked at. So
you've talked
I
about.
just
where
said
you
that
work.
I
Yeah,
just
you
said that I
have.
deliver packages. So.
No, I'm talking about a different employer, not this one.
Oh, my previous.
So
employer.
we're not
Gotcha.
wanting to keep that pattern going, is what I'm
Gotcha.
saying.
That's
Gotcha.
fair.
All right. So I guess just a couple of cleanup items. I just want to let you guys know. We are going to be live streaming all of our podcasts for the foreseeable future. So if you're following us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, we're now on
Spotify.
Rumble. And then we also upload our episodes onto Spotify. It usually takes me a few days to get that up, but you can also listen and watch us there as well. So make sure to be followed, turn on notifications. That way you know when we go live. We're actually creeping up on our 100th episode, which is pretty exciting.
Oh, what are we
We're
gonna do
getting
for
pretty
that?
close. I don't know, but it's not too far in the
Kiss.
future. So the next thing is we will not be doing we'll be actually doing a podcast for Rianne's channel, so It's All Relational, where we focus on relationships with people, places, and things, which is really, really great. We talk a lot about like couple relationships and dating and all this wonderful fun stuff. So we won't be doing a live stream on the 23rd, and then Rianne and I are going to go visit my parents the following weekend. So we'll be gone the 30th. So our next live stream will be on the 7th for the periodic review. But if you haven't followed It's All Relational just yet, I definitely recommend you doing that, because we're going to start doing that once a month.
There will
as
be
well.
more content to come.
Yes. Also, I will be releasing more 4 to 6 minute videos in addition to our 30, 45 second clips, which we are doing from the podcast, as well as me creating my own shorts. So definitely, make sure to follow us on YouTube and TikTok. Our new channel on TikTok is Periodic Review, the number 2. And that's where we're posting right now until they basically say, sorry, we don't want your content anymore. So we'll see how that goes. What else? I can't think of really anything else for the podcast. You guys think of anything?
I don't think so.
I think that's everything. So, new with me, I guess I'm having some allergy issues. So if you hear me coughing or clearing my throat, or my my voice just goes. I really do apologize.
Yeah, it's really
We
gross.
should.
It sucks right now,
Disgusting.
but I can't stop making content. I love doing it with you guys. So
Dude, there was one of the radio stations that we had visited had like this thing incorporated into each of their microphones. It was basically just like a volume and a mute button. I was like, Bryson, that's genius.
It is
Like,
genius.
yeah,
If, like,
I
each-
think you can get mute buttons.
Yeah.
because
So
it's
you
like
can-
it's like a cough button. So like
Yeah, that's
people,
what they called
so
it.
people could mute, like their interviewers could mute, and you don't have to rely on the person running the board
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
it. So they can just do it and be like, instead of having to go directly into the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll look into that in the future.
I just thought it was cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
You
It
just,
is
you
super
just
cool.
made me think of it when I.
We were like,
when you
man,
said
we want that for the studio. That'd be sick.
Heck yeah. Let's
Anyways.
do it. So let's talk a little bit about Mormonism, our journeys, and
Why don't you let
losing our
Alakai?
faith. I know that Mr. Alakai has been wanting to do this for a while now, so I'm going to let you take it away and lead us to wherever we must go.
Yeah. So
Take it away, Steezus.
those are my favorite TikToks right now, man. Okay,
Love
so
it.
first of all, I just want to like be open and like upfront about this. If you are LDS and you're listening to this,
We hate. No, I'm kidding.
like this, I really don't want to turn this into like bashing the Mormon religion. However, this is something that I feel really passionate about. I know Bryson, Jacob, Brianne, you guys feel pretty strongly about this too, from the conversations that I've had with you guys. I don't want to turn it into bashing Mormonism. However, like, I'm going to allow this conversation to just go wherever the hell it wants to. I plan on being totally honest about my feelings. I hope that you guys will as well. I'm not going to be afraid to speak about like anything about how I feel about any of this.
Yeah, we want you
So-
to be real for sure. And then
Yeah.
obviously if you guys have questions, feel free to jump in.
Yeah. So essentially, I just kind of wanted to talk about like each of our individual stories. I know like it's kind of hard to do that in an hour and a half. So if like we can all like be like kind of brief, but like also be honest and still be real about it.
yeah.
I do want to have a conversation and like get really deep into this. Whoa, so
that's deep.
that's what she said. Anyways, so like to any family and friends that are watching this or listening to this, I'm not sorry for anything that I'm going to say. So
Yeah, and we're
You
and
deserve every bit of it.
I don't know
No,
I don't know
but-
if I speak for everybody when I say this, but we definitely well, I should speak for myself. I should say I'm perfectly okay with having family and friends who are strong members in different faiths and beliefs. That it's totally okay. I don't feel the need to to go through and try to pick apart your faith and your beliefs, your belief system and books or deities or whatever the case may be. I'm perfectly fine believing the way I believe and living the life I'm willing to live, and I'm totally okay having that separate from other people's beliefs and processes and religions. So
yeah.
I'm not gonna go and like try to teach my mom and dad about the CES letter or anything like that. I mean, if they ask me questions, I will divulge information, but
Yeah.
I'm not just going to be like, oh, hey, by the way,
Well, the CES letter and the happiness letter are both going to come up in this conversation.
I
So-
would assume so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I guess I'll just kind of get into it.
Let's go.
Start us off.
So, okay. I was born and raised in the LDS faith. Bryson, were you?
Yeah.
Okay. Jacob, you were as well.
Yes.
Rianne, what about you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My whole family is,
Okay.
but it's not like my dad was never really
Mm-hmm.
active.
There's some Bible thumping Jesus freaks over there.
So
Yeah. So I know all of you guys were also, you grew up in Arizona, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Grew up and raised in Arizona.
Yeah. And then Rianne and Bryson, you both grew up in
Ogden.
Ogden.
Yep.
Yeah.
Utah.
So for you two, I'm sure the experience is going to be different from maybe mine and Jacob's, just because like I grew up in the Mormon church outside of Utah.
Yeah,
I was born,
it's a lot different here.
yeah, I was
So
born
different.
I was born and raised in Reno, and then grew up mostly in Temecula, California. Still managed to grow up in the LDS faith, and I remember growing up, this whole belief of Mormonism being like the one and only true church was so embedded in our brains. Like they hammered it into our heads so hard, and I'm sure that's like, was that the same for you guys?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ever
So-
since we were in primary, singing the songs that follow
Yeah.
the prophet, and
They literally separate you from your ages and put you in different rooms with adults that tell you, oh yeah, this is like this is what we're going to be learning.
yeah,
And then you'd all come together at the very end of the day, and you'd all sit in a big room and sing songs about Jesus and how I hope to grow up and go.
my Lord.
You
That's
sing about
actually
hoping
one that
to
we
grow up
didn't
and,
sing is the Kumbaya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we
didn't
never
sing
did either.
Kumbaya.
but we sing songs about like, I hope to go on a mission.
I hope they call me
I
on a
belong.
mission.
I belong to the Church of Jesus Christ.
Mhm.
Like that the whole song. It is definitely brainwashing. Like you call it as harmless as you want, but I mean like it's brainwashing.
Well, okay, so the power of language and the power of music,
Mm-hmm.
they're very powerful in developing minds.
Yeah,
I'm
of
just
course.
yeah,
like knowing how the brain works, knowing how neural pathways are developed and everything. Music is very, very, very influential. Same with
Mhm.
language.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
and the way that you utilize words with hypnotic suggestion and stuff like that.
and hypnotic beats and rhythms.
Yep.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
It's like subliminal messaging. They're just like, you will believe in Jesus.
yeah,
You will believe in Jesus.
but like,
You will.
but even like kind of growing up, I remember there was this feeling that was always there of like, I feel like somehow we're just playing pretend. I don't know what it was, but there was something there.
Adult house.
there was something in the back of my mind that was like, this is not legit. It was just one of those gut feelings, when they constantly tell you, hey, pray, read your scriptures, like the whole
No.
cookie
This
cutter
is how
type
you
of
will be
stuff.
blessed. You
Mhm.
go to church, you read your scriptures, you say your prayers, you obey your parents and your adult leaders.
Yeah.
It's very, but I will say this is not anything out, like it is in the LDS church, but it's also with pretty much any organization
Mm-hmm.
or religious organization. They have very similar
Mhm.
teachings of pray, obey,
Right.
kind of stuff.
So
Yeah.
here's where my issue really, really came to light. And I honestly didn't learn a whole lot about this until after I had my papers set to go on a mission. And I can guarantee you that a lot of missionaries don't even, they're not even told this when they're getting ready to go on a mission, is the legit true history of Joseph Smith. So we're like, for those that don't know, Joseph Smith is the founder of the church. He's the one that started the whole thing. But if people actually understood the whole history of how Joseph Smith had a bunch of wives, it was going behind all these people's backs, and the whole reason why he was tarred and feathered in the first place is because he was caught having sex with a 14-year-old girl in a barn. No one would convert to the religion because that doesn't sell. like why would anyone,
Sex sells, but not in religious communities.
Well,
But-
there's a lot of cults that that have been dissolved because they had become like sex cults,
Yeah.
basically, and so they had to go in there. and
Pretty
be
much
like,
every cult ends up going to
Yeah.
sexual deviance.
ends up being sex
Yeah.
and power. Seems to be the two mitigating factors in
Yeah.
cults.
That's
So-
when it starts kind of falling apart.
Yeah, like my whole problem is like I have an issue with people in specifically organizations that are not open, honest, and upfront about their intentions. And the church, I I don't believe that the Mormon Church is. They're not. I mean, they literally look at what they just got accused for. Well, I mean, sued for recently. They had to pay $5 million, which is such a slap on the wrist too.
And file the proper paperwork for their
for the shell companies that they all harbor.
yeah.
Oh my God. Yep.
And shell companies aren't technically illegal,
No,
but it definitely shows that they were trying to hide their financials so that they didn't have to pay
taxes.
Yeah, it
They're-
doesn't look very good. Like if a bunch of people are being told to pay tithing, even though they're struggling, because the majority of the population of the church is not filthy rich, and it's hard to pay 10% tithing. And when your salvation relies on the tithing, and it's like, oh, but I need to feed my family. Well, pay your tithing. We'll help you with that. And like, it doesn't. The optics are extremely bad.
Well, also, haven't you noticed that a lot of like very wealthy and successful people in Utah are part of the LDS faith?
Good old boys club. Did I say that?
Huh?
I didn't. Oh, never mind.
No, but like
Yeah. Good old boys club. Mhm.
I mean, yeah, I'm not. I mean, the church will not come out and say that they don't pay. Well, the church will not come out and say that they pay their like the quorum of the 70 and like that whole thing, or like even the bishops and stake presidents. But
They're all on voluntary basis, except for the living stipend that they receive to do church business.
yeah.
Oops.
What a stipend, I'm
And
sure.
I think what was the total like they were up to with between land, like buildings.
Oh,
farm,
we're in
like-
trillions of dollars.
I think
Yeah,
I
it's
think
like
it was
the-
in upwards of what 400 or 500 billion. I think it was, but I think like the 200 billion that was being hidden was just from like stocks and bonds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which they had been investing, since the 80s, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And did very well apparently.
Yeah. But anyways, so
No wonder their temples look so nice.
so like for me, like in order to like step away from the church, like I was in and out of it for years. Like even as a teenager, I was consistently like, I don't know if I believe in this. Well, maybe I do. Like I would have an experience that would push me in, and then I would have an experience that would pull me out.
Yeah.
It was just consistently like this push and pull back and forth all throughout my teenage years of like, oh yeah, I'm all in. Okay, maybe I'm not. All right, maybe I'm all in. All right, maybe I'm not. And then I met this girl, which is actually how I met you guys.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was a boy.
And,
She was a girl.
and honestly, I don't really have anything bad to say about her. She is a wonderful person, and I will say confidently that she did a lot of good for my own life. However, Bryson's like, it's always the girl.
However, there's always a but.
Convert.
However, it wasn't necessarily like a flirt to convert. Well, I guess
know,
maybe,
I'm
but like,
I'm playing.
there was that internal like existential crisis that I was having, and putting on a mask for not only her but for my parents, my family, of like, okay, yes, I like everybody that I love in my life feels so strongly about this church, so I have to as well. And now that I'm 19 years old, this is the time that I have to start putting in my mission papers. And this woman that I am in love with, who is also going on a mission, is, I've got to stay strong in all this for her too. Anyways, some stuff went down, got my mission papers in, and then I pulled out for some mistakes that I had made in the past that I will not go into. And yeah, eventually things just started to like kind of fall apart for me, I guess. And that same week I went to church by myself. Like 18 to 19, I started going to church just on my own, like the young single adults wards. I would go to those just because, needed to go somewhere, right? And I remember going into the meeting, and there was someone that I knew, but I only knew him at face value. I didn't know him. But like he kept on looking back at me, and it was really, really weird. And the anxiety that was filling up in my head was like, oh, like, does he know something that I don't, or whatever? You know what I mean? When you're consistently getting looks from someone,
Yeah,
it's a very uncomfortable type of thing. And as I was walking out, I was just gonna leave, go home for the day. And as I'm walking out, I hear my name. I turn around, and it's this guy that keeps glancing at me, and straight up, he looks at me dead in the eye, and he's like, "You don't belong here." And see, you're gasping, but that's not a very like. It's not uncommon. People get told.
No.
People get told that all the time.
Wow.
And like
No,
so,
really, he said that. He came
Yeah.
up to you and said that.
yeah, he just said, "You don't belong here." To be honest, I don't even know the guy's name. I
He
don't
just
even know
said
who
that.
he was.
That's hilarious.
But somehow he knew me. I had seen him around.
You're not Jesus.
No,
You smell like
I did not
cheese,
look like
you're
what I
not
look like
Jesus.
now.
No, you did
But-
not.
No, this is back when I was consistently shaving. I had my short hair.
Yeah.
Anyways, I had like the glasses from the grandpa from Up.
Yep.
My thick black square glasses.
I do remember those.
Yeah, that's how you met me, Rian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, guy says you don't belong here, and when he said that, like I knew, like he's saying this because he wants to hurt me, and I guess in a sense it kind of worked, but like my brain just didn't allow it to hurt. It was like, no, you're right, I don't belong here. Like, and I said that out loud to him. I was like, you know what, you're right. Thanks for letting me see that. Thanks for saying out loud so I can like
He gets like all
admit
shocked.
that
He's like,
to
what?
myself. And no, like he didn't even say anything after that. I was just like, thanks for saying something.
So
I'm gonna go home, and then I walked away.
Do you know, was he in a position of authority, or was this like a? Because usually for singles wards, like positions, men in like the bishopric and stuff are older.
Mhm.
But was this like a guy that was your age?
He was my age.
Okay.
I think he was a returned missionary. So at the time he was, well, yeah, he's a little bit older than me.
He really knew.
Ew.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah, so I walked away, and then that same week I started doing like a lot more research on like, well, why have I had this feeling for so many years? Why have I consistently felt like I've been playing this game of pretend? And that's when I just started doing like all like the deep dive researches. I was like searching on the internet for all the stuff that their church tells you not to look for, and all that kind of stuff. And I even went I even found a lot of sources on the church's website. Like,
They're,
Oh,
like
yeah.
contradictory.
they don't necessarily hide anything. They just don't promote it because
Yeah.
Well, and it's not like it's super easy to find, but they can say it's on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And I
Like,
did, yeah,
what?
I
We
hear
weren't
you.
secretive.
I saw some stuff and I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
yeah. So reading about Joseph Smith's wives and all that, I was like, okay, this is sketchy. Because I did not know anything about Mormon polygamy at all. and like,
Yeah, they don't
I
really
knew
talk
nothing
a lot
about
it. Honestly,
I did not. So the thing, growing up in California, I didn't know anything about the FLDS community or polygamy. And whenever it was brought up jokingly amongst friends, and I was like, I don't know where you got that information. And I just I always brushed it off because it was like,
yeah,
whatever.
we don't practice it, so yeah, I
Yeah.
get that.
So yeah, I had always brushed it off, but then when I actually started doing the deep dives, I was like, wait a minute, okay. And then I read the whole history of like why Joseph Smith was really tarred and feathered, and then I read a little bit about how he would marry other people's wives and have relationships with them behind their backs, and then when they would question him about it, he would then go and deny it.
Or receive a revelation.
Yeah, I don't remember.
God told me to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that whole thing.
Yeah, when Emma Smith went to question him, he for whatever reason got a revelation. Be like, well,
Starts gaslighting.
Yeah,
her.
it's
get
like
to-
oddly convenient. So yeah, and that like helped me put a lot of the math in my head. It was like, well, if Joseph Smith was chosen by God, then that means God is okay with having a shitty person being in charge of this new thing, like, and in
charge
that
of
case,
the restored priesthood.
yeah, in
or
charge
the
of like a restored
gospel.
yeah. Which, if that's the case, then that is not a God that I really want to follow. Or, like, yeah, it all just came back to either God's a shitty person or Joseph Smith's a shitty person. Either way, this is not a faith that I can get behind. I cannot morally feel comfortable doing this and continue saying that I am okay with this. And I remember sending an email. Well, so this woman that I was dating had gone on her mission, and I sent an email to her, like, with all these questions. I was like, I'm not really sure about any of this. And conveniently, like, as we were messaging back and forth, she was like trying to be supportive of, like, well, like, ask the questions, you should pray about it, read these scriptures. And I was like, okay, whatever. the typical answer.
Yeah.
So
Pray and read the scriptures.
yeah, and it was like,
Search,
well, that's
ponder, and pray.
right, but that's not concrete. It's like, it's the whole thing is like, if you get a good feeling about it, then that means it's true. And the whole thing is like, if you have a spiritual,
Sometimes I have a really good feeling about doing crystal meth. That doesn't mean it's a good thing.
freaking pitch perfect.
Exactly.
No, but it's like, I don't want to disregard a lot of those spiritual experiences that I've had, because
Right.
I do believe that I've had my own spiritual experiences that I probably misinterpreted as like, oh, like, this is the church speaking to me, you know, this is the faith trying to speak to me. But anyways, as I like gave all these questions to her, she gave me the whole primary answer, and I was like, all right, well, whatever. Literally a week later, I got the breakup letter. And
You're questioning it.
I guess,
with you.
Or I guess the breakup email. Yeah. But anyways.
Call those Dear Johns.
Yeah, Dear Johns. And but like, once that happened, it was very like emotionally and spiritually liberating for me, because it was like, wow, I can start taking off this mask. I can now start acting like me and feel confident about it. And I don't really care what she has to say about it, because I'm not like doing it for her anymore.
Right.
So yeah. And then like, it was really interesting, because then you know, like, my sister had done all, like, she's had her own journey, but as I was going through this, she was also very supportive. She's been supportive. One of the most loving and caring and warm human beings that I've known in my life. And I'm not saying that to be biased, because she's my sister. Like, I genuinely believe that. And she's had her own journey, but yeah, it's been a really interesting ride. And now whenever I hear other people talk about their stories of when they've been pushed and pulled in and out of the church, I'm like, tell me the tea. How can I help you deconstruct whatever? And it's interesting, because even as you do step away from this faith, there is a lot of unlearning and relearning that you have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's definitely some personal healing after you go through that kind of faith crisis.
There is so much. And like, you know, like I'm still going through a whole self-discovery type of journey. I feel like that's something that just doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't. As a 40-something plus woman, I'm still doing it.
I'm constantly learning things about myself, and I can now do it without feeling chained by an organization. I don't even feel confident calling it a religion. I don't believe that it really is much of a religion. It's an organization. That's all I see it as now. It's just a company that doesn't give the whole truth. The truth
is truth.
Nothing but the truth.
They don't give the whole truth to their followers, even though they say that we are the one and only true church. No, sorry, they're lying to you. Trust me, they are lying to you. I don't know how else to word it, but yeah.
If I could ask you a question, because I've kind of gone to struggle with the different instances that I've had in my life that have kind of felt like they were defining as far as like feeling like that quote unquote answer after you've prayed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was your experience for that? And then I guess my follow-up question would be, how did you reconcile with that being attached to that spiritual belief, or did you figure that it was something else?
So that's a
that
huge,
makes sense.
Kind of, yeah. So, yeah, because they teach you like, oh, if you have a question, or if you're going through like some sort of decision making process, then the first thing that you should do is pray about it, read your scriptures, and
Look for that good feeling, that burning in your bosom.
Look for that burning in your bosom, yeah. Which, I mean, like I have felt before. I have felt like a burning in my chest. I have felt that spiritual awakening.
My
Taco
bosom was,
Bell.
However, Taco Bell.
my bosom was burning.
It was last night's Taco Bell coming back to say
That should
hi.
be Taco Bell's new saying. Taco
Oh
Bell,
my
burn your
God.
bosom.
Taco
your
Bell, hit us up.
bum.
We'll sponsor us, please. Anyways, no. So I think like I don't think that those spiritual experiences should be disregarded or taken for like. I don't think that anyone should just sweep them under the rug if they do like walk away from the church like I did, because that experience is still there and it is legit. However, this faith is so good at programming you to believe that good feeling equals church is true.
Right.
And like the unlearning process that you really have to take into account is like good feeling could mean a number of things, and that is your job to figure out. It is not anyone's job to tell you what that feeling means. That is for you to go and discover it and figure out on your own. So for me, like a lot of the spiritual experiences that I've had, I've had to like do a lot of like post meditation and a lot of post thinking and like realigning all my chakras and, and that whole thing, and trying to figure out if there's maybe a different message that might have gone into them. And like, if there was anything that I could go back and tell myself, it would be that whatever decision you feel like you need to make is the right decision. Does that make sense? So,
yeah. So I kind of want to, if I could jump in. I know. I don't
no,
wanna,
absolutely.
Okay. So
I'm talking a lot. I feel like I'm.
No, you're
stalling.
good. We want to hear your stories, and I think these step by step like things that have happened in our lives, which have
Everybody
changed
has
us.
perspectives.
Everybody has different perspectives. We have different choices in our lives, which take us in a certain direction, and I'll always lead us here to Sunday nights. The Periodic Review. Follow us.
The
Like and
holy
subscribe.
night.
Like I did that.
My sister just joined. I don't know when she commented.
Oh,
but
hey.
hi
Yeah.
Addison.
I saw
Hey, Addison, welcome.
I saw that comment earlier. I was like, it's Kai's sister.
Yay. Glad you could join us. So when I was preparing to go on my mission, there was a lot of pressure to go. So like
There's always pressure.
Everybody's asking you about it. Your bishop, the first and second counselors, like family, friends, everybody's asking you when you're putting your papers in. Oh,
Yeah. It's
did
like
my
once
mic
you
go
hit.
out?
No, we can hear you.
No, you're good.
That was weird.
18, 19, that's like, even like 17. That's when like a lot of leaders and friends and family members start to like, so when's it happening?
No,
Like,
even earlier now, since it's now 18 when you can go on a mission.
That's crazy.
yeah, I keep forgetting that they lowered the age.
That's so freaking crazy that like 18-year-olds are going out and talking about Mormonism.
You guys
That's
know why
just
they did that though, right?
blows my mind. So that they have less opportunity to make a decision to either go to school or start going
Yeah.
on a mission.
Or get married or whatever.
Yeah, and it was also because their numbers in missionaries were starting to go down, and they're still going down.
Yeah.
They're very consistently going down.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry.
So basically, I don't want to get too much detail because I want everybody to kind of share a little bit about their experiences. But one of the first spiritual experiences that I can think of was when I was, getting all this pressure to go on a mission, and I was telling my mom and my stepdad at the time, I was like, I don't know if I should go. I don't know if I believe I should go or if I believe what's going on. And it's like, well, you need to pray. You need to read your scriptures. You need to pray about Joseph Smith because if he's a prophet, then everything's true. You need to go out and you do this. And so I kind of felt a lot of pressure to go and do that. So when I did, I got a really good feeling. I got that burning in the bosom that they talk about, and I'm just like, oh,
You got that Taco Bell feeling.
so the aftermath. So I was like, okay, well then Joseph Smith is a prophet. Excuse me. I should go on my mission. I should go teach people about the restored gospel. And that was kind of the step-by-step process that got me on my mission. But looking back at that now, I mean, this is 2001 to 2003, I believe.
Yeah, it was 20
It was
years
like
ago.
right
You're
after.
old. Sorry.
I love you.
I love you too.
You're old.
How dare you? And so like going back and kind of reconciling like what that experience was, because I've had other experiences similar to that, or on my mission, like we would go to different churches, which is something you're not really supposed to do, but we did. Like I went to a Pentecostal church, Seventh-day Adventist, like I went to different churches. But what was really interesting is I got those good feelings and those good vibes, just like I did when I'd go to the LDS church for sacrament meeting and scripture study. And I'm like, this is really weird.
Wait a damn minute.
And then after, being out on a mission for 3 to 6 months, you pretty much have read and understand everything that you're supposed to teach. So you start looking a little bit deeper, like getting past that tip of that iceberg. And you realize, whoa, this goes a lot deeper than I thought it was going to go. And so I started having questions because I would get into the history of Joseph Smith, Journal of Discourses by Brigham Young, I believe. I said Journal of Discourses, right? So I'd get into these other texts, which technically we weren't supposed to look at or study as a missionary because they started to contradict the nice, fluffy, beautiful story that you were told about Joseph Smith and the restoration of the church and how it was all organized and what happened. Was he visited by angels or God and Jesus? Or did he use, certain stones? Did he look into a hat, or did he have this magical power that he was able to see these words come to life off of these golden plates? And I started to realize that there's a lot of inconsistencies. And so I would ask my mission president and my companion, and I would write letters home. And they'd just like, well, you prayed and you got a great answer, so you should just keep relying on that. And so I did. That's how I got through my mission because I was questioning.
You're like, okay.
And so, and the more that I've learned more about the brain and how, there's always different chemicals going through it and how you can make your body perceive things. I wonder in that instance if I was looking for that answer and I pushed myself to receive that answer because I was getting so much pressure that I needed that.
If you go looking,
you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. If you go looking for things, you'll find them.
Psychologically too, if you when you do pray and you look for those answers, you tend to kind of push for the answers that you want too, especially when you're a missionary that's trying to is struggling to be I need some confirmation that this is true. You'll accept anything, even if it's just well,
the wind blows onto your neck. Oh,
yeah,
God said so.
That even if it's just just the perfect timing of your companion is hey, let's go for a walk, and you're there's my sign. Something kind of outlandish that. You know what I mean?
Drawing connections when it's not a connection at all.
Yeah.
Or drawing conclusions when that conclusion is not there.
Yeah. Well, Bryson, since since we've not really heard I've actually never heard your story of
oh yeah,
I've always known about where you stand, but I've never listened to you talk about your experiences.
He stands on his feet.
I do.
Sorry.
I stand on the ground
on both of his feet.
Okay.
His own 2 feet.
All right. I have to stop this devolving into bad dad jokes.
But they're great.
But they're beautiful. Happy moments.
Yeah, but we want to hear Bryson's
Happy
story.
little
Okay.
Happy little trees.
Yeah. You guys may be slightly disappointed because my story is not as exciting. So I started leaving the church kind of early in my life. I started leaving when I was around 15.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah, for context, I'm 22 now.
So it's been about 7 years.
Yeah, it's been about 7 years since I had like started questioning the church. So I had just had some friends who were non-LDS or they were ex-Mormons, and like they were just telling me like their experiences, how they don't think like God exists and all that, because that's where a lot of mine comes from, because I didn't ever really have a bad experience with the church. And so I had just started thinking about it, and I was like, I don't know if I believe all the same stuff. And so I became kind of agnostic theist. So it's like I didn't think that the God that everyone believed in the Mormon church and a lot of other churches was God, because a lot of them it's like, oh, God is all-knowing and all-powerful and he's all good. And I'm like, I don't think...
And he's everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
And I'm like, I don't think he can be all of those things.
Yeah.
I'm like, from the stuff I've seen around the world, I don't think that's true. War, I don't think if you're all good, you'd let war happen. So I don't think so. So I kind of became agnostic at first. It's like I believed there could be something, but I wasn't sure. And I kind of wanted to believe that there was a higher power. And I was like, I would like it to be true. But then just going around, it just kept coming to me. I was like, I don't think I'm finding any proof for myself that a God exists. That'd be great if he does. But if I die and I meet God, I'll be like, yo, I got some questions because I think you stinky.
Yeah.
But so around 16 is when I had fully left. I stopped going to church. My family was pretty chill about it. I didn't really get a lot of fight back. My sister, I remember the first time I was like, I don't think I believe. She cried. She thought I was going to hell for sure.
Yeah.
But I remember semi-recently asking my mom why she didn't really push back, because that was not a fight she was willing to have. She cared more about our relationship as a family than my belief. And so I've always had...
Oh, that's beautiful.
I've always had good standing with my parents and my family, and even our home ward. The ward I mainly grew up in, they didn't care. I stopped going to church because it made me feel uncomfortable and disrespectful. Because I had my bishop ask one time, he was like, why aren't you going to church? And I said, I feel disrespectful being around all these people who believe so heavily in this thing, and I don't. It feels wrong to me. And so I stopped going, but they would invite me to events. They still would check up. They were all very nice. I grew up in a ward that is very different than what most people's wards, I feel like, experience. Because if someone leaves or if they're not very Christ-like, they kind of shun them a little bit. But the two bishops that were there during the time I lived there, their belief was that community was more important. So it didn't matter if you believed or not. If you were in the neighborhood, they were checking up on you. They wanted to feel like everyone was included, which kind of makes sense. We were kind of a little small suburban area all next to my high school. And so my experience is definitely not the same. And a lot of what I have learned, like how like Kai was talking about, like the bad things Joseph Smith has done and the stuff the church is hidden, that was all stuff I learned when I was already out of the church. That is stuff I didn't actively look for. I wasn't looking for the bad. I was just something where my personal beliefs I was questioning, because I didn't feel the same as everyone that I was around. And so that's what pushed me to leave. But most of the people that were from that area and my family, they all are pretty chill about it. So
I respect that. But like Bryson, you're also one of like the smartest people that I know. So I appreciate hearing someone that's just like, I just stepped away just because it didn't feel right.
Exactly.
Versus like, I felt like I had to struggle to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But you, it was like, no, this doesn't feel right. So
Yeah.
Keep in mind,
like-
though, he is younger. I mean, like, you're what, 20,
I'm 25.
25?
Man, you're so old. I'm kidding.
Shut up.
I will say, like,
I was just nice to you. Don't make me
I
regret
know.
it.
I'm messing with you.
the church in most recent years has really tried to do more of a community-based effort. It's like, oh, yeah, I don't care about that. Or, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where that was not the rhetoric I grew up with. That was not the message I got growing up. Not necessarily the message Jacob grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
Or you, even.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So, and I think they've been pushing that really hard because they're realizing
A lot of people are leaving.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's too much cognitive dissonance
Mm-hmm.
between what they're preaching and what people are experiencing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And the thing is, like, someone was saying to me the other day that they believe that within the next 10 years, the church will be, like, almost completely dissolved. And as much as I want to, like,
You're like, yes, no religion.
It's not going down that
No,
fast
no.
though. As far as like people leaving the church, as far as like
there are
kids being born.
I think their numbers will just become stagnant.
Yeah,
like it won't
I
be a
think-
lot of joining.
it's on a very
members.
slow downturn right now.
and
Yeah.
it is
it
a
has
very,
been probably
I
for
mean,
the last, I want to say 8 to 10 years.
So, in the most recent years, missionary applications have gone down by like a third of what it used to be, or even
Yeah.
more. I think at this
Oh
point.
wow,
Well,
that's actually
and-
huge.
You
It's
guys-
significant, and
it is an extremely young church
yeah,
compared
and, like,
to all the other religions out there.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
honestly, all the young men and young women too that have said, I'm gonna wait to go on a mission. That I'm just kind of like, okay. I kind of hope their decision is to not go.
You're like
Not-
corrupting them.
and I guess so. I guess so in a
Join the
sense-
dark side.
I guess so in a sense, yeah, but it's more like, okay, yes, take that time to work on you because you might find out how much you're actually being manipulated and how much control
Yeah.
is behind all this. So, yeah, I guess there is that whole corruption in me. I think most Mormons will probably say,
See, I
yeah,
love to-
you're corrupting them. But I'm like, no, give this young 18, 19-year-old kid time to work on themselves, time to discover the kind of person that they actually are and what they want to do with life. Because, like, yeah, I feel like,
Because you don't know who you are when you're 18.
yeah, I feel like me when I was in that phase of like, oh, like I'm gonna take some time away from the church, or I'm gonna like take some time to really like get involved in the church. That slowed my progress in life down so much. Like, I feel like I could have been done with college by now if I had just made the decision to just not go on a mission way earlier.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
You talked about the corruption thing. I love to joke about that with all my family members because a lot of them are very religious. My the oldest sister, so the ones that's right after me, we're like complete opposites because I just completely left the church and she is like very heavily into it. She would have gone on a mission if it wasn't for a bunch of health problems. But I love to tease her that because she really wants kids and I really don't. So I decide that I'm going to be the fun uncle. And she tells me that she will not let me look after her kids because I'll corrupt them. And I'm like, what?
Come on,
Me?
kids, just a sip of Pepsi.
Yeah. I'm like, what? Me? You
Just
think
a little
I'm,
rock star.
You think I'm going to corrupt them?
Have a
You're
Red
right.
Bull.
I'll just be like, yeah, I
Yeah.
will. I will watch your kids and I'll be like, okay, say shit. Because when your mom comes back, I really want you to teach her this new word you learned. Say shit, okay?
yeah,
And she's
Man,
like, yeah.
ironic-
And she's like, yeah, you're not watching my kids when I have them. I'm like, okay.
And ironically, there was a number of years where the church had had stocks and bonds, and was it Coke or was it Pepsi? I can't remember which.
I 100% believe it's Pepsi.
It's either Coke or Pepsi. I'm not remember
It's either
which
Diet
one.
Coke or Pepsi.
It was probably Coke.
It was probably both for a while, I bet, because they're two of the biggest cola brands. And
Diversify.
exactly, diversify. Yeah, it's just wild, honestly. Like, and even since I was in my teenage years, like even on my mission, I was always questioning. But it was like one of those things where I was just like, well, just rely on the feelings that you had when you prayed about it, that first time. Like, always rely on that. Like, so all of the foundational knowledge and experience, and as far as like the religion is concerned, was all built on that. So if I would question or go, that doesn't make sense, or that contradicts this, this passage in the Book of Mormon contradicts this one, and this, doesn't make sense. Pearl of Great Price, and this facsimile is very eerily similar to the Debt of Rights for, in Egypt. So it's like, this doesn't make any sense, but I had this good feeling, so I should just stick to that. So it was like, and I know Alakai had the whole put it in a box thing, like
put it in a box or on a
compartmentalize
shelf.
it, or put it on a shelf. Oh, that was such a great skit, man. There's some good skits out there from SNL. Not too many anymore, but there's a few good. The Dick in a Box one was pretty hilarious.
Okay. Yeah,
But anyways, so going back to
Sorry, I'm
what
devolving.
I was saying. So anyway, so that's kind of how it operated, and so I was kind of like bouncing in and out. I really got back in again when I started dating and kind of like thinking and looking into the possibility of getting married. Lovely,
Gross,
wonderful. I got a good one. But we got back into church, pay our tithing, made it to the temple. We got married in the temple and everything. And it was probably like 6 years ago, where I had kind of a defining moment where I was just like, okay, I got to make a decision here. I either need to shit or get off the pot. That was the literal thing that was going to my mind, because I was starting to get into podcasts, and I think Rianne said that it was her who suggested this podcast to me, and it was a UK lady who was interviewing a gentleman who was an attorney at law, who was defending individuals against like other churches like the Catholic Church and Seventh-day Advents and Jehovah's Witnesses, but they had about 200 pending prosecutions towards the LDS Church because of children of SA, the R word that we can't say on
Grape.
Yep, graping, physical abuse, sexual abuse, like really horrible stuff. And this guy had like several hundred pending things against the church, and he had been doing it all of his life. So he had been working on these different ones.
His practice, he became known as the attorney in Utah who would take on the church.
Yes,
because no other attorneys would.
And he was
because the church has a lot of money, and they
What's
invest.
this guy's name?
I can't remember. It was
Bryson.
It was like
Google.
4 years ago.
If you would, please, sir.
Well, I don't know if you could find the.
I'm sure we could. If I sat there for a minute, I'm sure I could find it again. But it was a podcast with a UK host interviewing him because he had just retired.
Are you thinking Curtin McConkie?
Hey, I know him.
I was gonna say.
Maybe.
No, I think that's the church's.
Oh, that might be.
That's the church's.
Yeah, he's not.
okay.
He's not a member of the church. I don't believe.
He never was.
But
a member.
he's a lawyer that takes
a
on.
lawyer that took on accusations and fighting for those families and individuals towards the church.
I want to have a conversation with this man.
I don't know if he's still alive, but we
it
listened
might be
to
under
it.
like truth.org or LDS Truth or Mormon Leaks or something like that. I think that
I found it randomly.
Yeah, but she found it randomly, and she's like, "Hey, you should listen to this." And the way he described the way that the church's lawyers would,
or even the process that the bishops were instructed.
Yep. So he talks a lot about and I'm sure a lot of this stuff has changed, but at that time, basically, if a person had an accusation, they would call and talk to the bishop. The bishop would call a number, who would go directly to the lawyers, and they would tell the bishop what to do instead of going to the authorities. So, unfortunately, the church was hiding these things, the SA, the graping, the molestations, like all these horrible things that were happening. And when it came down to it, how was the church defending these things? How were they doing it financially? Tithes and offerings. So when I realized
that is so messed up. You think of like as a 12-year-old, 13-year-old boy, you're given the task of like going and collecting fast offerings from people. That's what we were doing as kids, is collecting that money.
Yep.
I remember doing that. I hated doing that.
So when I realized that these lawyers that were defending the church were defending pedos, were defending, these individuals. And in fact, they even talked about a problem where they had one person that was over and over again perpetrating. And the church would hide it. They would send him to a different ward or a different stake. He'd get into the Boy Scouts again, and he would perpetrate again. And they were
saying, well, he went through the repentance process. He made himself right.
And he said,
how many times does he have to go through this shit in order to be like dude, no, arrest this man.
Get the heck out of here.
So once I listened to that hour or two podcast, we'll have to find it and link it. That was when I was like, okay, I have to make a decision here. Because if my tithes and offerings and my donations to the church are funding these things, I'm not okay with that. And I remember telling Rihanna, I was like, I can't pay tithing anymore. Ever since I listened to that, I can't do it. I mean, if we want to pay 10% to ourselves and invest in something, or if we want to pay 10% to some local nonprofit organization, I'm more willing to do that than to give it to this organization because of the way that they've handled these things, and I am not okay with it.
Damn, that's insane. Wow, if you're an active member and you're still paying that shit,
I'll find it.
That is where your money is going to, guys.
Among other things. I mean, the church... Okay, and I haven't had a chance to tell my story yet, so...
I was going to say, I'm like, I feel like...
Yeah, but then Jacob had to be all like... No, I'm just kidding. Because I will be 100% honest. There's a lot of people I truly love and respect on a high level who are still... who are active members of the church.
Same.
They live their lives according to the gospel, and I respect the heck out of them.
Same.
And I love them.
They're
very
heckin'
much.
great.
They're heckin' great, okay?
We love everybody. We really do. We don't hate anybody.
They're feckin' great. But the reason... So there's a lot of things. Like, growing up, we learn, you come to church because that's when you feel the Spirit, and you want to go to the temple, and because that's where God lives, and you want to be in God's house, and you need to be sealed to a man, and in order for yourself. So from a woman's perspective, the messaging is a little bit different, right? Like, we can't have eternal salvation unless we are sealed to a husband for time and all eternity, and neither can a man, but we have to be sealed to a priesthood holder and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And even going through, because we had gone through the temple and stuff. And I remember, growing up, I never felt the Spirit at church. I did feel judged a lot. I wasn't treated very kindly by my peers. And even some of my leaders were not very kind to me, even kind of bullied me. Because I wasn't working or prioritizing my personal progress, which was what they used to do for young women and stuff. They don't do it anymore because they've changed that. But it was, and growing up, I had a dad who was not active, who smoked and drank. And so he wasn't a worthy priesthood holder. So I felt very looked down on because we didn't have the traditional makeup and stuff. But my mom had a lot of callings. My mom is still very active. I love her. She's amazing. But she had a lot of callings. She was pretty active in the church. But the only reason why she got active is because I started going to church with some of the neighbor kids. And the teachers kept asking me if I was going to get baptized. And I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
Like,
So then I did. So I was like, sure, yeah, I'm going to get baptized. And then my mom kind of started getting back into it because she had been inactive for a really long time up to that point.
That's probably what got, like, that was
like,
probably
hell
planned.
yeah, Rianne's getting baptized. I'm getting back in.
That seems like it was very much planned.
Yeah. So my mom did get back involved. She had been estranged from her family, all this sort of stuff. Like there's a lot of history, but I never felt what I was told I was supposed to feel going to church.
Yeah.
Even when I went to the temple,
I found it.
So many people were like, oh, it's such a special experience. There's so many special experiences and you will have all these spiritual experiences and stuff. And when I went to the temple, I never really had those spiritual experiences or felt what I was told I was supposed to feel. So it caused a lot of like, oh, then there's something wrong with me.
Like a lot of spiritual and emotional discourse.
Right. Like, oh, well, then I'm the problem.
Yeah,
right.
They're really
then
good at that.
I'm
They're
the
really good at
problem
that.
because I'm not feeling what they say I'm supposed to feel. And so I masked, right? I was like, yeah, it was amazing. But like, I remember somebody coming up to me in the celestial room saying like, are you okay? Are you okay? Because I was like, I felt sick and overwhelmed and felt like I was going to pass out. It was weird. But like, and I'm not going to lie, I had some amazing experiences with amazing people in the church, but it wasn't, and if I'm being honest with myself, they weren't the level of spirituality that I was told I would experience or that all of these actions would bring. And so it was really hard. And then it hit even harder because like I lost my dad very young, right? So there was trauma there. I was in a marriage that was not awesome. And that was not an awesome experience. I had church leaders tell me, oh, you don't have spiritual experiences. Those are only for the apostles to have. You can't see, you can't have visions, or you can't
you're a woman.
see this
You can't have that.
because those are for the prophets and apostles to have.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even though my patriarchal blessing said I am gifted and I have the gift of discernment and I have all this stuff, when I went to a church leader, I was told, well, we don't believe that's false.
Yeah.
Then you're having something else show up for you because only prophets and apostles can see that stuff. And so, like, all of these, it all kind of compounded, but then it all kind of boiled over to, like, I really tried to be active and stay in church and everything. And I loved some of the callings I had, like serving in young women and everything, because I loved the people, but it wasn't, I don't know. And I'm not going to lie, I love the teachings of the church, the values that they teach and everything, as far as like a good work ethic, honor yourself, respect yourself, honor your mother, father.
Love yourself.
Family is important. Family relationships are important. All of that stuff I really value. Like, to me, that still holds a lot of weight. And I still have a testimony of Jesus Christ and of that, and of him being the savior. Okay. But when it comes to the organization of the church and the culture of the church, I struggle in the participation.
Yeah.
And mainly because it is a family oriented church, which is great. I love that.
There's a lot of people that get a lot of great things out of
Right. It is. But when you don't fit that mold, it's really hard to exist
Yeah.
because people don't talk to you. Like, I remember coming to church and people are like, oh, you're married? Or I wasn't married at the time because I had divorced. And they're like, oh, okay. So then they come at you with pity. And then when you do get married, oh, you're married. Great. Do you have kids? Where's your husband? Does he
Yeah.
come to church?
How many do you
Does
have?
he want to
Are you
get involved with a
expecting?
priesthood? Like, asking all these really personal and invasive questions. Like, yeah, we don't have kids. Well, why not? None of your flipping business.
Yeah.
have you ever considered that is a really hard thing for me to talk about because it's not something that I talk about very frequently because it's a hard situation.
Yeah.
Like, and so so that's when I realized I can still believe and I can still develop my personal relationship with God, with my Savior, but I don't have to do it within the confines of the church.
Right.
And I don't have to do it the way they tell me to do.
Organized religion, like this doesn't just go for the Mormon church, but organized religion like limits you on how you can connect with your higher power.
Because I don't feel like I have to pay tithing to an organization.
Yeah, and you shouldn't.
To feel close to God or Jesus.
And I can still do good.
Like, what makes anyone think that they give a shit about?
God's like, give me money.
So,
Well, it says it
I'm
in the
like-
scripture, so you got to do it.
Right.
Penny for your thoughts.
But here's the thing. I feel like I can do good just by being my best self. And when I would go to church, I was not my best self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't
Same.
encouraged to be my best self.
No, it's you need to
My
fit into our
spiritual
mold.
gifts were not encouraged. Right? My spirituality was not, my personal spirituality was not encouraged. In theory it was, in lessons and all that stuff.
in
But
word, but not in deed.
But when it came to me, it wasn't encouraged.
Yeah.
And I wasn't treated very well by people in the church. And again, I grew up in Utah, so I know the culture is different. I had much different experiences outside of the church or outside of the state of Utah with people in the church, and I really appreciate those experiences. But, and I don't devalue, and that's the other thing is like, people are allowed to believe what they believe. I still have a testimony of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And the fact that he was here and died for my sins. Like, I still have a very strong testimony of that.
Right.
And I think that's awesome.
But I don't feel like anyway, I don't want to go on a huge,
You don't
huge
fit
tangent.
the church.
But I don't
the
fit.
mold,
I don't
for
fit the
sure.
mold of the church. I don't feel comfortable in the church. I know there's a lot of people who don't, and it's not because I don't want to. It's just because. And the other thing is I had my own personal wrestle with God. I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be a mom so bad, but I didn't get it. And according to what I was taught growing up, the reason why I didn't get blessed to be a mom with a family and a husband who provides for me is because I didn't follow the commandments good enough.
Yeah.
And I was
You weren't
killing
as
myself
obedient.
and beating myself up
Yeah.
so bad every day because I wasn't living it good enough.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but that just had the complete opposite effect on me.
Yeah.
So,
So
anyway.
a little follow up. I didn't find the original interview from UK, but I did find the Mormon Stories episode that had the attorney on. His name is Tim Kosnoff. Kosnoff. It is the Mormon Stories episode 1639.
Mormon Stories is awesome.
Yeah. They do a really, really good job at, breaking this kind of stuff down to the evidences that they find, using...
You know what, though?
Using stuff like the historical documents from the church and everything. Like, they don't do a lot of stuff
But I
outside of that.
saw them do some things on that recently in some clips that I was like, that doesn't happen in the temple. And they said it did. And I was
Well,
like...
it may not happen anymore, but
yeah,
I'm
but it did in the past.
I'm not sure
because unfortunately, with the church has changed things a lot. They've had over 1,000 revisions in the Book of Mormon. They have revised the temple ceremonies so many different times to cater more to man and to society, to make it more acceptable community-wise. They've changed a lot of things to make it fit more of what's going on today. Some might believe that's revelation and changes by, the prophets and apostles. Some may go, if they restored all this stuff, how come we got to change it so much?
Yeah.
But, for me, like when I, 6 years ago, when I started having my personal faith crisis and struggling with the teachings of Mormonism and LDS Church and the prophets and everything. I basically had to go to baseline, which was I didn't know how I felt about anything. I didn't know how I felt about people on this planet who receive messages from someone from somewhere to dictate how I should live my life in this world. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand how all these horrible things were happening. You know, all of the personal struggles that I've had, all of the struggles that I saw other people have, and I was just like, well, how am I supposed to believe in all this, and all this crap is going on in this world? And I know a lot of it is being done because of other people's choices and that are affecting other people, but at the same time, it's like, well, then why are babies killed in drive-bys? It's like why does that make sense?
And I do have
but I just want to say, like, I basically had to go to baseline, which is I don't know what I believe.
Okay.
So I've gotten to the point now where I do believe that there is something greater than us. I continue to call that God. When I do pray, I do say Heavenly Father and close in the name of Jesus Christ. But that's where I'm at right now. I believe that there's something greater than us. Like, I have an agnostic, theistic approach right now where I can't prove or disprove that there is a God. I can't prove or disprove that there's something waiting for us after we pass away in this life. But I do act and believe, that there is something greater than us. And I do definitely want to experience that, whatever that is. But just as much as I hold on to that belief and have faith that something is going to happen after this life, and it's going to be good and great, and we're not going to have to worry about all this crap that we're worrying about in this mortal realm. At the same time, I could die and the lights could be completely gone. Like, I just won't exist anymore. I don't know. But I do believe, I believe there's something greater than us. But that's where I'm at right now. And it's taken me a while to get just to that. Because I believed all these things in this religion, this organization, this cult. And
the Jesus lovers.
And I'm just at a point now where I just don't know. And I have accepted that fact that I just don't know. And I won't know in this life. I won't know until I pass away. You know, I can read all the books and all the scriptures and all the documents and Dead Sea Scrolls and this and that and the other, but nothing's going to prepare me for whatever it is, if it is even that. I don't know. But that's kind of where I'm at now. And honestly, I feel more comfortable in the unknown because, like, I've believed for so many years, for such a long time, that I believed something to be true, that I believed that the LDS Church was the only true church of the face of the earth, that the priesthood and all these wonderful things and the organization was restored to this world. And it was so exciting and amazing to the point now where I'm just like, maybe nobody knows. But anyways, sorry, go ahead.
Rand,
Rand,
you've had some thoughts sitting.
Well, I do, but I know we're getting close to being on the end, so I have a question I want to just ask. Maybe everybody to have an answer, like, to end on. I don't know. How close are we?
We're at 118.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So we got a bit. He'll let us know when to wrap up. He'll be
okay. Well, I know, but I wanted to make
thoughts.
sure. I wanted to make sure that we had some time. So, having gone through the faith crisis and everything, what keeps you from becoming completely nihilistic or losing all hope?
Or becoming apathetic versus empathetic.
What is it that gives you hope in this world if it is not your core religion that you were raised with?
That's a good question. Anybody have thoughts?
Bryson, where are you at?
People. My family.
Yeah.
That, granted, like, that is kind of like a result of growing up in the LDS Church, but my family did not make religion a huge part outside of, like, going to church. And so I feel like a lot of it is just based off, like, my family. I have good parents. They taught me good values, to care for everybody, to not care what other people are like. That's my entire family, not even just, like, my immediate family. Like, my grandparents are that way. My grandpa, especially, especially because he's a convert, so he feels like you should love everybody regardless. I think family is definitely what drives me. It's not religion for me.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I like
That's
that.
great. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. Like, I definitely feel like I live for my family. I live for my wife. I live for, you know, what's the next wonderful thing around the corner? What's the next step? What's the next level in this life? You know, because you kind of level up over time, just like in a video game. Like, what you got to rack up that experience.
Woo-hoo!
You know, you got to get those stars. You got to get those, you know, those mushrooms, like as Mario. I still I see it.
So Jacob's hope
really got everyone to
is
see
video
it.
games.
No,
It
Leveling
drives,
up.
like
it drives him through the world.
as
No,
a-
it's okay. I'm just giving you crap, babe. I love you.
you know what I mean.
I
Like
know.
as a metaphor, like leveling up in this life is pretty exciting. Like our conversations with you guys, like, and to be able to do this like with my wife as well, like with probably the closest friends I have, you know, so far in my life. It's such a beautiful thing, and I learn a lot by creating the clips. Like I do a lot of research and I try to formulate it in a way where I come across as, you know, with some degree of intelligence. I don't think I'm a complete, you know,
You're not a complete dunce.
no.
You're pretty
but-
smart.
Buffoon.
And then I always pose it, you know, well, what'd you think about this or this? And then like, I like seeing that as I'm trying to start the conversation. And that's what I think the Periodic Review podcast has become, is like, we want to start the conversation. We want to, you know, we want to know your thoughts. We would love to have conversations with people. And I think it's really awesome that we have 4 people in this room, have very different walks of life, who have very different outlooks as far as like philosophy, backgrounds in education, walks of life. Like we really do have a really blended way of discussing things because we are completely different people. And I'm not really sure where I was going with that, but that's how my brain works.
We were letting you roll.
Yeah, my brain just rolls. And I honestly don't hate anyone. Like I oftentimes I've talked about this and feel like people have
People have
committed
given you a
sin.
reason to hate them.
Well, sure. But like, especially when it comes to
Hate
the
me.
LDS faith and, you know, what they taught me, all the fuzzy and beautiful and, you know, enlightening things that, you know, and give me a really great story and make me feel good about myself and, you know, what I should do in this world and where I could end up in the next. I don't think people did that on purpose. I don't feel like people, like they were sins of omission, so to speak. They didn't do it knowing.
you mean lies of omission?
Yeah, lies of omission. That's what I mean. And so I don't hold that against anybody. It's possible that they were ignorant of the different historical documents of the church, and a lot of that stuff is outlined in the CES letter and the letter of happiness. I think was the other
The happiness letter.
the happiness
yeah.
letter.
Well, that's a whole other story.
Yeah. Yeah, and those are, you know, really, really great points to kind of go over and be like, oh, why is there 3 different, you know, versions of what Joseph Smith experienced, you know, in the Grove? You know, why is there several different instances of how Joseph Smith translated, so to speak, the plates? Why is it that, you know, all the witnesses who claim to have seen the plates never actually saw them, you know, and we're told under this cloth is this, you know, stack of plates, or in this box is a stack of plates. Use your spiritual eyes, you know. You know, and it's just kind of one of those things. It's I kind of liken it to a child learning that the Easter Bunny is no longer in existence.
What?
Or there is no Santa Claus, or
Spoiler alert.
or anything else. Yeah, hopefully you don't have any little
And there
kids.
is no Queen of England.
Not anymore. She died.
Treat yourself.
Oh my god.
It's time to treat yourself.
Okay. Anyway.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's just like one of those things. Like, I mean, life is definitely a little bit more nebulous, but I definitely think life is a lot more exciting because I'm not trying to fit myself into a box that I don't feel comfortable in, that doesn't make me progress as a person, that doesn't make me think as an individual. and instead like just become a mindless part of the collective.
No thoughts, head empty.
I think that was a Borg reference for our Trekkie fans. So yeah, it's just kind of one of those things, you know. What was your question again? I kind of got lost there.
Yeah, I know. You started rambling.
I apologize.
It's okay.
You guys. That's
I
the way
think you
my
answered it,
mind
so we
works.
should probably let Alakai
Okay.
do his answer. Like, yeah.
No, but for real, what was the question again?
Yeah, like I got lost there.
See
you
what
even remember
happened?
the question?
Yes, I remember the question.
I think I
said,
remember it. I just want to make sure I
what
have it right.
if you are not like, okay, what gives you hope? What keeps you from falling into complete
That's right.
nihilism
That's right.
or complete despair if you're not following the values of the church that you grew up in?
Yeah, now I remember. I've gotten, wow, you guys, I haven't cried in like a year, but I've gotten close a couple times on this, so I'm going to try not to. Anyways,
Hey,
On the podcast?
we're here for you,
Yeah.
buddy.
I know. But anyways,
It's okay, babe.
that's what I need you for, Bryson.
I got you.
Snap me out of that shit. See, this sucks because like this whole time, like you guys have had like very solid and concrete answers. My thing is like I don't know that I really have one, and every ounce of energy that I am using in my life right now, I am just trying to survive. Like I kind of feel like I'm so like I've had so much, not to like kind of toot my own horn or anything, but like I feel like I've gone through such a high amount of life experience at this point. I am already burnt out on life. And
Buckle up, Buttercup.
I don't
Sorry.
don't have a whole lot of
Just wait. Sorry.
I don't have a whole lot of motivation to keep going. I am just trying to survive at this point. And I think one of the things that has like kept me going is like the fact that I know that there is so like, because even though I've lived what I've lived, there is still so much to see. There is still so much that I have to experience. There are a lot of places that I want to go. And I think that my connection to the earth, my connection spiritually that I've had with, you know, the spiritual connections that I've had with other people, and the fact that they don't have to be religious, like that is enough for me to say, okay, maybe there is some faith that I can restore here in myself, in humanity, in taking care of each other and the earth and everything like that. Am I making sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just very much listening.
Like, I just, yeah, I'm just trying to survive, but like those are the things that I feel like are kind of keeping me going, is those spiritual connections that you find in very unexpected places, yet you learn exponentially from them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people out there feel the way that you do, and I'm sure a lot of people are going through the same thing.
yeah.
Honestly.
And my thing is like, I feel kind of stuck right now. Like I know I don't belong in Utah. I know that in my core. This is not a place where I belong. There are so many other locations and places for me to explore and go discover that I know that I belong. I haven't found them yet. And I think my curiosity and wonder for where that might be is also something that is keeping me going, is that curiosity and that thirst for learning what that is, where that is. Because I used to call California my home. I still referred like, oh yeah, I'm from California. However, I don't believe that is like my home. I don't believe Nevada is my home. I don't believe that Utah is my home. I kind of feel like I'm just a lost nomad right now, just trying to figure out where I'm supposed to
It can
be.
be really corny. Be
Yeah.
like, home is where the heart is.
No, I guess so. But my thing is, I'm still trying to find my heart.
It's like, where is it?
Where is
So-
it?
There's a hole.
It
In a
goes
sense, yeah.
boom, boom.
In a metaphorical sense, it goes. boom, boom.
Alakai, I feel you as like a very kindred spirit. That's why I love you so much.
Yeah.
Because I remember feeling very much the same way when I was your age. And I still do sometimes. Because it's hard. It's hard to figure that stuff out. And you're such a tender and wise soul. And so I can understand where you're coming from on that. But I do have to say you will find a home. Like, you will find it. You just get... It's a great opportunity for you right now. And I know it feels really uncomfortable. But you will find it. And I know that. If I can just give that... Because that's something that I have... I'm still searching for certain things. But I know you'll feel it as you get closer. And you have good people who love you. 100%. And will always be an anchor for you no matter where you are.
Yeah, life is a journey.
3 times.
Life is a journey. Everybody's working it out, figuring stuff out, figuring out who they are,
So,
what their purpose in life is. We still
In
are.
fact, this turned into a whole therapy session.
Yeah.
Sorry,
It's got
guys.
very
How-
philosophical.
how do
hey,
you-
I like
how do you
therapy
feel about
sessions.
that?
They're great.
How does that make you feel?
Okay. Let's not go way deep.
So we
Put in the chat how you feel about
we
this
putting this
conversation.
we're putting this podcast in the bank.
I think so.
All right, let's make a deposit. Thank you guys so much for watching another podcast with the Periodic Review crew. I am Jay Rhymes, your host. Thank you guys so much for co-hosting today. I really do appreciate it. If we've earned your subscription today, don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you don't miss a content release. Send us all your topic ideas to theperiodicreview@gmail.com. You could get possibly on one of our shorts, or we could even put it on our podcast. So, and our family to yours. Goodbye.
Bye.